All right, now we are live for the first Asia session scalping stream. What's going on, bro? This is my buddy Chillin, who's one of my old trading buddies. We've been hanging out and talking trading for what, like 2 years now, at least. I feel like.
At least, man, it's going to be at
At
least that.
least.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he's a great trader. You're very much like your style is interesting because you have a little bit of ICT, but you're really heavily a volume profile trader now too. But you also incorporate things like premium and discount from Kane. So I think it's going to be interesting to hear some of your analysis right now. If you want to just go over, this is your screen, kind of go over what you're seeing right now. Because the market, by the way, is up 1.7%, the NASDAQ in the Asia session, right at the open. So I mean, the volatility's here. We might be able to find a couple of good scalps, hopefully.
Beautiful. Let's get into it, man. No problem at all. So yeah, I do incorporate quite a few different technical techniques into the strategies that I like to trade, just depending on what I see in the market and what is relevant. Like you said, very heavily on volume profiles as well. This is just what I got going on for gold this week. Became tradable for me on the daily time frame once we reach this daily fair value gap, which is also a technique that sometimes I use, which is in the premium here. So we touched into there, broke down the structure on the hourly. I believe we also had some volume profile confluence here. So yeah, we can see we reached this the daily value high, which was in like this after this break of structure on the hourly, daily value high. Broke down, I entered this short, and yeah, my target was actually the discount of the overall bullish leg here, which is the final target on this short leg. But I noticed that we're going to pull back here, which is where I then now took this this scalp up to the weekly VWAP, which is another technique that I use from time to time only. Yep, so scalped the 1-to-1 up to the VWAP, and then short again to now finally trying to take it to this final target, which will then be the discount here, and then I'll be done. So I may not then look to trade gold again until there is some higher time frame relevance. I'll be looking for another premium discount leg on a higher time frame, like the daily or even the weekly, or even a wick. I like to trade inside. Sometimes context for me will be a wick on the weekly. For example, I would have liked to trade inside of this wick to look for shorts, or maybe potentially even in this wick, I'll look for longs. So I might even wait for price to get down into this area, and then I might even look for a long there. So that could be potentially the next point of context here, where I might start to look for longs again. So but then I'll look for volume profile confluence, structure changes on the hourly, things like that, and it'll be good to go. So
for the record, for the record, that short that you're in is not a hindsight trade. You didn't just pull a risk reward tool. I saw you take that trade in the Discord. You posted it right. You're so good too, bro, at actually posting your trades like the moment you get in. You don't wait until it's maybe halfway to targets or like 1R, 2R. I mean, you're just like in there. Here, I'll get my screen up too. Exactly. I can show you what I'm looking at. But that's what I love about you, bro. You're just like, yo, I'm in this. I don't give a fuck. Here we go.
Yep, I'm in it, and I'll post the entry exactly where I get in, so you can see the entries right there at that price
point.
And we're in that trade.
There you go.
Yep, exactly. So I don't like to stuff around with that. I'm not here to post fake entries and things like that. I like to hold myself accountable to the analysis that I put out there. So that's the way to do it.
100%.
Man, what do we got?
Yeah, so let's take a look at the NASDAQ. I'll go over kind of what I'm seeing. To be fair, I mean, I'm going to do my analysis right now while we're on stream, because I haven't even marked down my levels. And I do want to get a little deeper into kind of how you use volume profile in a little bit, because it is different from how I use it. Like I'm like an oversimplified version. All I use, you know already, you're well aware. I only use the previous day's value area as point of control. That's it. But you go real deep with it, and you really make me like want to go deeper into it, and I've been meaning to. I've played around, but also like what I have works for me. So, I'm kind of in that place where maybe I don't need to change it, but I'm interested to hear, and I think other people would be interested, like how deep you get into it, because you are a really good analyzer of volume profile. But this is what I do every single day. So I put on the SVP, the session volume profile. I use all of my levels off the 30-minute time frame. That's just the way I was taught to get the most accurate levels, at least with the previous day's value areas and point of control. The reason I believe behind that logic is that the market profile, which is kind of like the predecessor to volume profile, was created in with the 30-minute time frame in mind. Like, it was supposed to be analyzed on the 30-minute time frame. So a lot of the classic volume profile traders just kind of brought that over to the volume profile, and I've just stuck with it. I have noticed that sometimes the levels can differ a little bit if you're on a 30-minute or a 5-minute. And I've just noticed I get the most accurate levels here on the 30-minute. So that's always a question people ask me, like, what time frame should I mark my volume profile levels? 30-minute time frame. But this is what I do every day when I'm starting off and just getting my analysis in. I just mark the value area high of the previous day, the point of control. I mark the value area low and the previous day's low and high, of course. Those are pretty much my my intraday key levels. And then I'll zoom out and like look for fair value gaps on the 4-hour, daily, 1 hour, whatever, and start to kind of try to zoom into the price action. Now, first thing I'm seeing, and this probably catches your eye too, we do have a naked point of control down here. Now, I'm not expecting us to come anywhere near here today. This is not a target right now, but it's something in the future that might be a good target. You know how naked point of controls go. Like, we could leave them for days, and then eventually there's enough context that it starts making sense to use it as a target. But as of right now, that's just something that I would be aware of. We do have a naked point of control right there. But now I'll just get rid of those levels. I'll usually also mark this up on the ES as well, but we'll just stick to NASDAQ right now. And then first thing I do, I just start off on the daily. I want to get a daily time frame perspective. And this is all making a lot of sense to me. I talked about this on stream on ASFX, actually. I was saying the next logical liquidity target for me was this daily fair value gap. And man, I was hoping this would happen in the New York session to give me a trade towards it, but we just slammed right to it as soon as we opened. But that was the next logical liquidity target for me. Essentially, we were in a downtrend for a while, swept out all this liquidity, kind of consolidated for a little bit, had our market structure shift. And then right here, I mean, once we broke above this high, for me, it's just all bulls. Like, we're 100% in a daily uptrend again. And doesn't mean I can't take shorts intraday. As you know, I'm a scalper. I'm getting down there on the 1-minute time frame a lot, but it's important for me to know that higher time frame context. And kind of what happened here, I mean, I did not expect any long-term reversals with this move. Number one, from a daily time frame perspective, we just we created a bunch of these stacked highs right here. Especially if I go down to a 4-hour in a moment, those will be a lot more pronounced. I love targeting like stacked highs, relative equal highs. So when we leave stuff like that and then start to pull back in a daily uptrend, all I'm looking for is for like a relevant liquidity level that we're looking to rebalance and to go higher. That was this daily fair value gap. We tapped into it pretty beautifully and then just slammed higher. Now, if I go down to the 4-hour, a lot of this is even more relevant. So I like to have an overall higher time frame level, which is this daily fair value gap, but I could also like narrow this down now. We have like this 4-hour gap right here. And we also just tapped into that pretty nicely. And we also had a bullish SMT divergence right here. I believe it was NQ that made a lower high, while ES made a higher high here. So we also had a bullish SMT divergence tapping into a higher time frame daily 4-hour fair value gap in a daily uptrend, and we had these equal highs. So for me, like, longs just made perfect sense. How can we start to like feel like this downtrend is getting ready to be over? For me, that's if we have a bearish fair value gap on a higher time frame, like a 4-hour, we get an inverse. Boom. I want to stick to that. You also don't need to be complicated with the inverse. You could also just follow the obvious fair value gap that's right here. 4-hour fair value gap, tap back into it, rebalance, move higher. I caught some really nice longs in the morning during the pre-market yesterday, or really it was earlier this morning, and then actually caught a short in the late afternoon, and luckily that played out like pretty nicely. But really, this was the main target for me for the week was these equal highs. So once we tapped them, again, next level was this daily fair value gap. So now that we're here, to try to not overcomplicate things, It's a bit tough for me right here because I could see a deep pullback here. Again, doesn't mean like daily uptrend is gone. Doesn't even mean 4-hour or 1-hour trend is gone. But once we're tapping into this daily bearish fair value gap, like we could get some pullback, a deeper pullback than I would like. And it's a lot. It's very inducing to want to just get long right here. But if I was to get long, I would need a pullback somewhere into one of these bullish fair value gaps on the 5 minutes. But yeah, as of where we are right here, I don't see like a prime setup. I don't know about you, if you're seeing anything. Like, do you like shorts here by any chance? What are you seeing?
Man, the thing is, right, is I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing in terms of where we are in the leg. So, looking at even on the weekly time frame, we're right now right into the premium side of that, the last bullish leg that we had, and we've now completely filled in a weekly fair value gap. That daily one that you're looking at as well is actually the most premium daily fair value gap has not been filled in yet from what I can see on NQ.
Mm-hmm.
If I just share my screen for a second,
yeah, let's
see what I'm seeing.
For sure.
Just to see what I'm seeing right now, right? So I'm looking at this leg from here to here, you can see, and I'm looking at this one is the most premium fair value gap, which a lot of the time we'd like to, touch into them. On the weekly though, we have filled in the most premium fair value gap. Now, what do we make of this? Like, do we actually still want to take shorts? Because the reality is that right now the order flow is so bullish, man. Like
all-time highs, right?
All-time highs, and what you were mentioning before about not touching, probably not going to touch these point of controls. One thing about volume profile that I like to look at is, when you're getting these consistently not touching the point of control, like point of control goes higher and higher and higher every day. That's a very, very strong order flow. You do not want to be shorting when you're not getting that reversal where let's say the point of control starts to shift. I'll give you an example. Let's say here, point of control higher, higher, lower, higher, sort of not starts to stagnate, then lower, lower, and then premium short, right? Short, boom.
So, interesting, bro. And I don't want to cut off your flow, but that's so interesting. That alone, I've never heard people talk about that, but that makes a lot of sense. So as the point of control gets lower each day, that starts signaling bearish strength, essentially.
Yep. All right. Right. So
it's totally coherent. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So I definitely look at that, man. I definitely look at that. It signifies the main volume point prices is changing from being a higher price point each day to a lower price point each day. And then that could signify then the change. And so this is what's happened right here now. So we're going higher, higher, higher. And it's such a large gap. You see out here, there was a bit of a stagnation period before, finally then we got that move down. Right now, there's none of that. So what we'd be looking for, let's say we start to come towards this more premium, the most premium daily fair value gap, and then the order flow starts to stagnate. We might then start to look for a pullback. But then again, what sort of pullback could we be looking for? And it could literally be something as simple as moving into like the discount of a 1 hour leg before we then break through to the all-time highs. That could literally be the extent of the pullback that we could look for. It doesn't have to be a big one. It doesn't have to be premium. It doesn't have to be discount of this huge weekly leg at all. You could decide to blast through. But I wouldn't entertain shorts until, for me personally anyway, until we see a decline in the velocity of how this order flow is moving. And then, I would look for a breakdown and then look into confluence with, something like what we had here. We retested this, the short, for example, and on looking on this particular leg as an example, value area high, breakdown of the point of controls, retest into this value area high from like 2 days ago. And then, that would have been like, a potential short. This is the type of setup that I would look for. But over here, right? Something like that. So, for me, it's long until then, man. For me
Dude,
personally, that's what I'm looking
the
at.
one thing I'm so happy about right now is that I'll get my screen back up. The one thing I'm super happy about is the QQQ calls I bought. Not calls, they're not options. I just bought shares, but I feel like
So
a
good.
genius, man. I told my girlfriend to buy some
Yeah.
too. We bought some. I swear to God, like if we're looking at this daily chart, we bought them on Tuesday, the 8th.
Yeah.
So this candle, like we got the exact low. It was beautiful. And I said, we're just chilling.
Yeah.
We're just going to hold these till all-time highs because these all-time highs too, man, they're like stacked relative equal highs. I mean, we're coming for these.
Yeah.
There's no
We're
doubt.
coming.
No
There's
doubt.
absolutely no doubt. Such a huge play. I'm so happy that you did that, man, because that's how wealth is done. You reinvest and you don't pick stocks, just put it all in the Nasdaq, man. Let it just
Dude,
perform over
seriously.
time.
It's the first time I
Yeah,
really
buy
did anything like that. I've
Yeah.
always just been like this intraday degen trader, and I finally waited for like a clean opportunity that made sense and finally just fucking bought the Nasdaq on a
Yeah.
drop. It was
Yep.
I can't wait to do it more. I'm going to do that the rest of my life. But
Yeah,
I really
that's it,
liked
man.
what you were just talking about. Trading indices is very different from trading forex, right? Like when the Nasdaq wants to go up, that thing will just steamroll through any resistance area, any bearish fair value
Yeah.
gap. Like nothing is safe to the upside. It doesn't have to make sense. You don't need deep pullbacks to relevant
No.
levels, like trying to be overcomplicated with the analysis to a certain degree. Like that thing just wants to go up.
That's right.
So I love that you talked about that, and we're kind of in that territory right now because when we're this close to all-time highs, we're going to get there. Maybe we get one like fake out deep pullback at some point, but for the most part, I think this is going to be some clean trading to the upside the next few days or weeks. But we are in this relevant level for me. So yeah, I like what you said. I mean, I'm not going to just get short right up here, but if we could try and find a scalp, like I'm not opposed to it, but it's really hard right here for me because I have nothing to target. I have no liquidity to target. Like maybe I could pull a fib here and try and target 50% of this daily gap. That could be a liquidity target. That would give me from where we are here to here. I mean, market's really moving. That gives me like 60 points on the NQ to potentially capture. And if we can get a deeper pullback first, like if we could build up some low resistance liquidity right here, keep these relative equal highs right here. This is how I build out my scalps, Now, what I don't want to see is for us to come up and take these first. If that happens, there's no trade. But if we can pull back before we take these highs, and I don't need anything crazy because for a scalp, especially in this volatility is perfect for this low time frame scalping because this is where you can capture 25 points in a couple 2-minute candles,
Awesome.
But I wouldn't need anything crazy. I would need a sweep of these lows, a tap into like hopefully just this fair value gap,
and ride that order flow.
And I would ride that order flow, like truly get in on even a limit order somewhere inside this gap if I can manage that.
Perfect.
And then literally just go for, I mean, at this point with how bullish this is, I could easily capture 50 points, like no problem.
Yeah.
And that's how I build out my scalps. But the thing about them is when you're thinking about scalping, you think it's this operation where you're in and out all throughout the day, and it's not. It's actually still just a lot of waiting for that one moment. You get in and you get out when you have just a high probability moment and you're able to exploit edge on these low time frames with just a really short frame horizon. Like that's where the edge is in these like quick moves where you're just like, I can exploit this small bit of volatility to capture 25, 50 points very quickly. But you got to be patient for it. That's the thing. The trade itself will be quick, but you got to be patient waiting for it. And that's hard sometimes.
Yep. Perfect. That's spot on, man. And I love that mindset of it because it reinforces the good habits, good trading habits, not over trading, and it's perfect. One thing I'd like to point out for you, man, I don't know if you look at when you take your scalps where the current day's volume profile, but you've got where your fair value gap is that you pointed out on the 5-minute is actually around the value area low of the current day. So that to
Mm.
me is a nice little
So let's do this.
um,
Actually, this is perfect to get into like how you use the volume profile, because I don't use the current day's profile. I know that you even use like weekly value area highs, weekly value
yeah,
area lows. Do you want to get your screen up and talk about that a little bit? Because I'm actually
perfect, man.
interested myself, man.
Okay, no
Yeah, let's
worries at
do
all.
that.
Let's talk about it. Yep, I've got quite a few. I've got 3 different setups for volume profiles that I use. So I've got daily, weekly, and monthly. So let's pull this up and let's go, let's say on the 4-hour chart, we're going to look at the monthly first. So what I've essentially got is the periodic volume profile. So with this one, you can essentially change the time frame, that you want the volume profile to show. So I've got 1 month, you can go 1 week, and I do 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. So these are really good to get idea of, the overall order flow on a higher time frame. So,
Mhm.
and I do like to, I only really look at 3 main levels: the value area high, the value area low, and the point of control.
So you
So
don't use like those. You don't use low volume nodes or high volume nodes.
not really.
Me
One of the other
neither.
traders, yeah, one of the other traders in the community that we're in does use them, and you pointed them out to me, and I did realize, oh, hang on a minute, there might be something to these lower volume nodes depending on the asset, but they're not really levels that I look at, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
But let's take a look at this one, for example. Start of the new month, value area high, not as an exact level, but around there. We got tapped into there. So that would be, for example, a key level, we're looking at a,
I mean, look
fair
at that
value gap
beautiful
in there.
break and retest right there.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Yep.
beautiful. So, we're coming out of that order flow, retesting into that one. So that'll be a level that I would have marked out. So, and so that's on the previous month, right? Now, there is a point of control there. None of that's going to be hit. Looking at this now, like we're looking at, oh, here we go. Here's a monthly point of control. So a naked one, right? And that naked week, that monthly point of control is going to be pretty much in line with that one of those fair value gaps that we're looking at, that daily one, I believe. Let's take a look at the daily. Yeah, so look at that daily that most premium daily fair value gap. We're looking at that pretty much aligns in with that naked point of control there. So I would mark at that level just as a key level, as okay.
Now, does that
And
happen
then
often? Do they line up with like fair value gaps often, or is that just a strong confluence for this particular
we're
setup?
looking at a strong confluence for this
Okay.
setup, because remember the context, we're in the premium of that leg, of this whole leg here. We're looking at fair value gap, we're looking at monthly point of control. Again, it's just lining up to be a decent level to look for a short that might look for extend over a day or two. Just potential there. Now, then I go over to the weekly. So that was pretty much what we've got for the monthly for NQ, looking at the point of control. Now, if we go over to the 2-hour chart, it's quite nice to look at for the weekly volume profile levels. Now, when I look at volume profile, man, I don't just look at the previous week or the previous day. I'll actually look at, a lot of the time, at least sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 days back for levels.
Mm.
Like, for example, look at, you looked at this pullback, which was a really clean one. I know there was a fair value gap in there and you longed out of that one, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
But, I would have looked at even this confluence here breaking into back in to this value area low from 2 weeks ago. Now, a lot of the time, man, I don't look at these levels as exact level, let's reverse. I would look at it like, okay, we lost the level sharply, we reclaim the level, and then you would look for like a, inverted fair value gap out of that level, break a structure out of that level, probably something on the lower time frame here now. So we broke through it. We had an inverted fair value gap. We came out of it here. And yeah, so this is where you would have seen, as we then to reclaim that
Perfect.
level, that would have been, I don't know if there's really a trade set up here with this example, but I would have been able to flip to a bullish bias as we reclaim that level and inverted the fair value gap. So that's what I would have looked at there. And a lot of the times those levels do line up to be quite nice. So I look at, value area high, low on the previous weeks. That's why I have a lot of the time you'll see my chart like this. Like I'll actually have the volume profile all laid out like this, because I
Yeah.
can see then, okay, how are we reacting to all these volume profile levels? The value area high here from last week did actually give us a little pullback this week, a small one. But as we spoke about with NQ, we don't need a lot of the times a big pullback just to keep ripping. So, and that's exactly what we got here. A small pullback and then just rip on forward. But yeah, I would look to line up those levels on the monthly, weekly, daily, see if any of them do line up. Look at how the order flow is moving, if the point of control is moving higher and higher and higher, or lower and lower and lower, and go from there. So if we look at this monthly point of control level that we were looking at earlier, this yellow one, which is a little bit hard to see.
So real quick question. Do you put do you put more emphasis on a monthly volume profile over a weekly volume profile level, or is it just context dependent, whatever is relevant at the time?
It is whatever's relevant at the time. Because the thing is that sometimes I will see that the monthly is being respected. Sometimes there's just no monthly level there, but if there's a monthly level there and the monthly is being respected, a lot of the time it is, I'll look at it quite highly. Whereas, let's use this current monthly level, for example. I may actually look at that as a very strong level, but if we're looking at, I wouldn't say it's very significant to me until we've got some form of like bearish order flow on a lower time frame. Until then, it's nearly irrelevant, because you can't fight order flow regardless of what levels you're looking at. So in my opinion anyway. So I do value the higher time frame levels more, but it has to be coupled with order flow that confirms that that I'm going to have a chance at this trader being successful. I'm not going to fight the trend, for example. So that's a really important point. But by and large, higher time frame levels are superior to lower time frame levels. Yes, is a simple answer to that question.
100%.
But that really, Zach, is by and large how I use volume profile levels, right? That's probably the main difference to you, is that I do look at multiple days behind. Okay, even on the daily, I'll look at multiple days behind. Like we had this long out of the. This was a previous day value area high, which is good. But let's see if we can find a level that was from multiple days.
I mean, even that one, it held that break and retest like beautifully right there.
Yeah, absolutely it did. Broke and retest that value area high, and just went flying. And that was just today, like just before, I think as a session was basically just opening, just ripped, man, absolutely ripped. So that would be a level that I would have definitely liked to trade from if the timing was correct. It's just that the move started a little bit early.
Super early, man. Yeah, I'm usually trying to wait until around, like, if I do trade Asia, which I trade Asia a lot more these days because we're just getting clean moves. I mean, today's a perfect example, but most of the time I can wait till about like 8 p.m. and we get that injection of volatility, and I can try and frame a scalp right around that time. But yeah, sometimes you just get that instant move as soon as we open and we just start running. And unfortunately now, it's 8:30. We've been consolidating for the majority of the kill zone Asia hour.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly, man. Unfortunately, which is, that's okay for me, because I've been trading other assets like gold and Bitcoin. But yeah, it sometimes you just have days like this, hey, where it's just completely out of nowhere. You get these massive rips, it's at the start of the session, which unfortunately was quite technical as well. Like, in hindsight,
very
trades like that just look like it's like, oh, could have just taken that.
So let me ask you then, because you do some intraday trading. You've been getting back to intraday trading, but You've also been doing a lot of swing, or would you call it swing trading, or is it more just like, you know, are you usually in and out of a trade by the end of the day, or are you holding for multiple days, multiple weeks? Like what's your average trade these days?
It's, this is such an interesting one, man, because like I will have to say that my trading style, it's never, I'm not just like scalping continuously, or I'm not looking for swings continuously. I'm actually, a lot of the time, sometimes I'll be in a swing, which might last a few days. Well, if you even call that a swing. And then in the middle of that, I'll take a scalp, on a different asset, for example.
Yeah.
And that actually works fine. But it's really context dependent. Like, what I'm looking at is, do I like the level? Do I like this?
Mhm.
Can I make sense of what's happening right now on whatever time frame? Like, dude, I just took a platinum short. I'll open this
Platinum.
one. Yeah, so here's the thing, man. Like, platinum is nothing I would ever day trade, but like, you would have seen, I've been talking about this particular range on platinum for like months, man. And I'm talking like such a long time. So this is on the weekly chart, just this range here. I traded a long from there, short from there, I believe a short from there. And this is like November of 2024. And now we've got come into, basically, a reversal point within this range here. This is very simple, man, just like range. And then these trades can last 2 months. So this is an asset that I just look for swings on. And I would never, like I said, I would never take a day trade on platinum. But then, on contrast, we're looking at the long trade that I had in here from here to here on gold, which lasted like 1 or 2 hours. So my trading style will change as long as I can make sense of it. Like, to me, this range here, just drawing the line high and low, makes absolute sense on platinum, and I'm happy to take it. You get a beautiful risk to reward, and the lines are respected, so I'll take it. And just the same as taking the scalp from here to here made a lot of sense on gold. I believe there was some volume profile levels, and there was lower time frame structure levels, and there was broken fair value gaps. I was looking at inverted fair value gap. This one, I think it was mainly here. I was looking at like an inverted fair value gap retested, and then just like you just go along there. To me, it made sense. Yeah, exactly. So like, the styles change, man. The style does change depending on what I can make sense of.
So it's context dependent, and I think that's great. I mean, it shows your versatility as a trader. You can kind of go wherever the wind is blowing, what makes the most sense. Yeah, I love that. See, the thing with futures prop firms, we just can't hold overnight. So when it comes to my prop firm trading, and even on my personal account, I haven't really dabbled in holding overnight, although I can technically, but I just haven't done it much yet. But I do want to venture into that probably sometime this year, primarily on my personal account. But the scalps work great for me. I'm comfortable on those lower time frames. I like just like, maybe it's like a commitment issue thing. I just like getting in and out. I don't want to be too invested into my trade. And that works for me. But actually, we got some people in the chat. I want to say what up to James, Freddie. You're always a good viewer, man. Thanks for hopping in. He says last week 1850 to 910 macro on NQ has been very good for scalps, quite consistent. Also the Frankfurt Open macro too. Do you use macros, Aiden?
No, I've never used macros before.
Yeah, they're interesting, man. I play around with them. We were actually talking about it on the ASFX stream. You can find a lot of good value in it, but I don't personally use them much. Casey's also in here. Yo, Casey, he likes your analysis, Aiden. He says, Zach, this dude has. Yeah, he says, Zach, this dude has great info. Would love to see him in more streams. Bro, it would be great to get you on an ASFX stream one day. I know you're probably busy at that time because, I mean, Aiden is not, like, your time is right now. It's morning for you right now in the Asia session,
morning.
right?
That's right. Yeah, we're just about to
Yeah.
get started with the day. Yeah,
So,
so
so Aiden is like sleeping during the New York session most of the time, which is a bummer. But one day, man, if you're ever pulling an all-nighter, just know you're always welcome to hop on an ASFX stream. It would be great to have you on there because we got a lot of good people in there. But bro, what's sick is that you really like. I feel like 2 years ago when we were first talking and trading, like it was really tough to try to trade the Asia session, except on maybe certain assets. You traded a lot of Nikkei because that's the Japanese stock market. Obviously, there's going to be volatility there, but bro, I'm telling you, like lately, you can trade the NQ in Asia, and you're going to get great moves. It's really awesome. Like for people that are either not on a U.S. time zone, or maybe they are in the U.S. but they're working full time. They're so lucky right now because I swear, man, when I was still working at the grocery store, like I could not trade Asia, and I tried to force it so many times, bro, and I would just get smacked because it was just terrible consolidation. There'd be no delivery, and nowadays it's just not like that. Like you could find great moves.
And your trading style has changed since then. I remember back then when you were looking at like 3-to-1s, and you were looking at a little bit higher time frame, and you were really looking for a little bit more of a run. Whereas now, if you're looking at getting in and out, taking only like you said 25 points or so, you can do that much easier for sure than you can take looking for those 3-to-1s that you used to before. Oh, I think we lost some audio, brother.
Sorry, one sec, bro.
Okay.
Hey, sorry about that. But yeah, and I'm still honestly like kind of like you with the versatility, how you'll trade swing trades or you'll do some intraday trading. I'm kind of the same with risk reward. For a while, the last couple of months, I was like strictly going with these 1-to-1s, 1-to-1.5, low time frame. And recently, like this month, I've actually gone back to looking for a little bit higher risk reward. But just like you, it really depends on the setup. Like that setup that I posted in the Discord earlier this morning, like I took a 1-to-1.5. Made sense for that particular trade, although it did end up running. So that would have been a home run if I held it. But
yeah, I saw that one.
It made sense to me to take the 1-to-1.5. But then earlier in the afternoon when I went into that short, it was like a 1-to-3. So for me, it really depends on the technicals, what the structure is telling me, and what I think I can get out of it. Maybe I'll take some partials. Maybe I'll trail the stop aggressively. But yeah, it all depends. Damn, we are getting this pump. Dude, I was so tempted to try to get long here. Like I had my finger on the trigger, and then I said, let me just I told myself I'd wait for a sweep. And it looks like we're going to move to take these equal highs up here.
Yeah, that's wild how you would even consider taking a long there, man. It definitely is a contrast from how you used to trade because, what levels are we looking to trade from there? Literally, it's just the fair value gap, isn't it?
So bro, literally, it's like the volatility is strong enough to capture an easy 25 points on NQ, and I have a draw on liquidity. So literally for me, it's like, okay, maybe we're not going to get this sweep because we're ultra bullish, and this is the magnet right now to me. This is the draw. So at that point, it's as simple as like, okay, we have a little fair value gap in here. Can it hold? Let me see if I can get in. And one of the things that I do, and you know this about me, I don't need to wait for this to hit my full stop even. Like if this started breaking below the fair value gap, like the way I trade, I might just cut it, and just say, well, let me see if I can get a different entry. It all depends. But this would have worked. Looks like it would have worked out. We'll see. We'll see if this will hit the target. But this was the idea I was kind of looking at. But can't catch them all. This was aggressive. It would be an aggressive long. Like it's not an A+ long, but it's a long that definitely is coherent.
And look, man, we're at the top side of that range now. We could just be building another high into that range. We could come low again. So it's not over yet. We'll see what ends up happening.
That would be the most ideal. Like the biggest thing for me is the draw on liquidity is number one. Like that's more. I say this all the time. It's more important than the entry point. If you could get the directionality right and use a target, I call it a draw on liquidity. That's the most important thing. So these types of situations, like, dude, if we didn't take these highs, that would be the most ideal scenario, because then I would see this as we're just stacking up even more equal highs and we got a deeper pullback. That would become an A+ setup for me, because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal highs, relative equal highs. That would be perfect. But looks like we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this tap.
Now, how about SMT? How are you using that? Do you use that during the Asian session as well, or was it you saving that specifically for New York?
No way, dude. If I can get a setup with some SMT, I mean, that's like the icing on the cake. That turns it into an A+ setup. I could even go over an example last night in the Asia session, because I did try a short last night in Asia, and I ended up getting a break even because it was just so choppy. I had gotten in somewhere around here. This blue box is the Asia session kill zone. So my setup was somewhere in here, and there was an SMT. I believe it was from here to here. NQ, just a slight SMT. NQ took the high right here. This candle from 1955 to 2105. Slight SMT divergence. And again, draw on liquidity. My thoughts were these stacked lows right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we were in a premium at that time. We were in a premium. And I just traded this 1 minute inversion. So if I go, let me go into the replay mode. My setup was in here. Yeah, it was literally this. So we put in that bearish SMT divergence, and I traded this 1 minute inversion right here. And this is why I got it. Yeah, I know. But again, low time frame, like it all. When I look at the 1 minute, this is what I'm seeing: 1 minute equal lows right here. Deep premium on like the hourly and the 15 minute, and that was my draw on liquidity. So I got in here, somewhere in here, like I think maybe on this one. I had originally a 75 tick stop, and then I was looking for like 100 ticks, right? So a little over 1R. And what I like to do is, as it goes in my favor like this, I trail the stop. So I don't need to trail it into profit right away. But if I can reduce my risk as soon as possible, that's ideal. And that's how I can keep my average R multiple way bigger than my average loss. But in a way, I'm still just trying to capture a 1R, if that makes sense. So like, if I'm going to be right on the idea, I want to start seeing it go in my direction rather quickly. And as it does, I do this. So as it broke down to here, I trailed my stop just below the structure point at that point. Now my risk reward went from like a 1-to-1 to a 1-to-2. And then as it went a little bit lower, I trailed it to here. And then I got tagged out on this pullback right here. And really, I would have stayed in this trade, but I was just going to sleep. So I just didn't feel like going to sleep with a position, just not my style. So I moved my stops to break even at this point. And the trade would have worked out if I left my stop there. Would have worked out nicely, but doesn't matter. But the point is that as it goes in my favor, I'm moving that stop and effectively increasing my R multiple. Now, there are times where, I lose and it goes right to my original stop loss and I take a full 1R. That happens, but more times than not, if I'm patient enough and get a good entry point, I have the opportunity to trail that stop pretty quickly and cut my risk in half.
Yeah, I like that, because, you're waiting for the reaction in the market and you're giving yourself more breathing room. Really what that means is you're cutting out risk, which is, when I've seen, the way that you do your journaling and the risk reward that, you get on your trades, it's how you actually end up getting way more than just, what would typically be for a 1-to-1. And it's because the way that you cut risk, which is context dependent, which is really good, man. Really nice risk management. I think it's one of your major strengths.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it definitely is, because, and this was like a work in progress. It evolved over time, because last year I wasn't doing that trail stop method too much. Like, I'd keep that 1R, but the 1R was always very tight at first. So, I think last year my average stop loss on NQ was 50 ticks, which is like, how many points is that? It's like 12 points. And I would just keep it at that. And I would never move it. And if it hit my stop, it hit my stop. But if the trade was still valid and I got another entry, I'd get in, and I would do it like that. And that worked. But, it just evolved over time. and I started using wider stops. That also had to do with the volatility increasing. But so I start off with that wider stop, and then as it goes in my favor, I just try to cut that risk every chance I can. And it kind of gives me the same outcome of a high risk reward strategy, but I give myself the necessary room in the beginning to, like, if I don't get that perfect entry point right away, I get that initial wiggle room, and then I can cut the risk as it goes in my favor.
Yep.
Yeah, look at this, man.
Love it,
Look, we're hitting that midpoint of the daily fair value gap. So that trade would have worked out pretty perfectly, especially if we held a runner up to the main target. But that's the main target. So again, these are hard conditions though. If you're not someone that's good at just following momentum for day trading, this could be tough,
It can be, yeah. The good part is that with the push that we got as the market was opening, and I think maybe a little bit pre-market, it really solidified that we're only looking for longs today, or this morning anyway. Or this not tonight for you. We're, you don't have any confusion in the bias, and I guess that's the good thing. A lot of the times, when you have a move like that in the as the Asian session opens, you've got very clear bias, and a lot of the time that's half the battle for a lot of people is getting a clear and confident bias. And once you've got it, it's either you make money or you sit out of the trade like that, and it's okay.
Yeah, man, 100%. So let's because we were doing 45 minutes, we could wrap up soon, but I do want to talk maybe about, because I don't know if I'm going to find a trade, unfortunately, but let's do a quick discussion on prop firms or personal capital. Are you trading with any props right now? Are you doing strictly personal? Kind of what are you working with these days?
Okay, yeah, I did just start another prop challenge yesterday or the day before. Yeah. It's been I kind of got a bit jaded from the last one that I did with Funding Pips, where I passed it and I had my master account. That was all simple. I think I did both bases in like a week. And then on the master account, I was in profit, and I had oversight on one of the rules, which you couldn't risk more than 3% of your capital on one trade. And I knew that I do not have a channel, Casey. Sorry, mate. I don't have a channel. I do have an I don't really post a lot of trading content at the moment, but
dude, Aiden is a silent killer, bro. Aiden is just in our little Discord and he just posts these fire trades and gives great analysis, and then he just goes away. He doesn't care.
Yeah, maybe one day I may get into some more content, but not at the moment.
Yeah.
Sorry about that one. But yeah, so because I was in profit, I'm like, let's just double down on this. I was thinking I could withdraw. I had like over $1,000 in profit there. I was like, okay, I could withdraw or I could just keep going. And there was a trade. I was like, okay, this is going to be fire. I'll risk. I think I had one position already floating in profit. I bagged some. I was feeling good. I'll risk a good amount on this trade, and I'll be sweet. Even if I lost the 3% or over 3% of whatever I was risking, I was totally fine with that, and I knew I could come back. That was like one of the only losses that I had on that account. But because it was over that 3%, they took away the entire account. I was like, God damn! Like I could.
So they breached it completely, even though
it was
you
a hard
didn't.
Breach. It was a 3% loss on a single trade, and I knew I had the 5% daily loss limit, and I was going to be well within that. I was never going to breach that 5%. I already knew about that one, but you can't risk more than 3% on a singular position. And I'm like, damn, I did not know that. I thought 3% was fine. So I got a hard breach, and the next day, man, I made literally I was crying because I would have made like an additional 8%. I would have bagged like 10 G's on my first prop firm withdrawal, and I would have been like stoked. But yeah, ended up getting a hard breach. I was jaded. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do prop firms for a bit. So that was a few months ago now. But now I'm back in. So I'm back in.
Okay. But bro, I mean, you trade personal well. Like you've been trading personal. So the prop firms, they're always going to be there. So what firm are you going with? you go with?
Yep. So I'm funding pips again. Now
Okay.
that I'm clear on their rules, so I'm with funding pips at the moment. The futures firms, look, I've never really been able to make it work with the trailing drawdown rules. It's a little bit.
It's tough for people.
I like being a little bit more aggressive with the risk, and I like the static 10%. I just feel like it's nearly impossible to bust that, if you're doing good risk management and provided you understand the rules about, the singular, how much you can risk in a single trade, which kind of caught me off guard. But other than that, I should be able to be just fine with this account. So I'm going to keep doing CFD props just because it's not just scalps that I like, as you know. Sometimes I am holding trades like this gold trade, man. I held it overnight, and I'm going to hold it, until profit. So that's already been an overnight position, and I could maybe even hold it for a couple of days. So yeah, look, I think definitely, we've seen people that absolutely kill it, even in our community when it comes to, futures prop firms. You've done really well with futures prop firms. I think they are solid if you really are strictly trading into intraday. Traders like Greg, traders like yourself. That would be perfect. And if I was to be more consistent on the scalping front, I would definitely look, I would definitely, invest into futures prop firms. Just like I would have to be consistent with it. That's the problem, because at the moment, running the business and, trading only here and there, and sometimes it's a scalp, sometimes it's a longer term overnight. If I want to take an overnight and I can't do it on the account that I've got, that would be
100%.
quite frustrating. But yeah, I do trade personal as well. So I've been trading personal, but it's only been a small account. So it's a little bit of money here and there just to for a bit of fun. And I do enjoy personal. There we go. Look at a rip, huh? Straight through that midline. I'm going to bet to say we're going to go right through that, the top of that one, and then we're going to go of that fair value gap, and we're going to hit that most premium daily fair value gap, and then
I agree from
there.
Yeah. I agree, bro. I agree. But yeah, man, I totally understand that. CFD firms are great, the ones that pay out, funding pips. E8 funding is another good one. I've taken payouts from. I never got a payout from funding pips. I only tried like one challenge with them, but I know they're a good firm. My main CFD firms were my Forex funds. Obviously, that was the firm I got my first few payouts with. So shout out to them. They're legends. And my Forex funds. Those are the two CFDs for me that I took profits from, and they're great, man. And I definitely understand the freedom aspect to it, dude. One thing too, before we end the stream, I want to shout out Greg. You just mentioned him, dude.
Weapon.
This guy Greg, again, another silent killer. Greg, I've tried to get him on stream so many times, bro. He always tells me like maybe soon. I got this going on, but whatever. But Greg, the other day, this week, verified, made $100,000 trading the ES on a live brokerage. Verified. He live AMP, broker. He's shown us this AMP live broker. It's insane that we have traders like that in our little Discord, man. It really is crazy. I feel so lucky that we have that community, because there's really some killers in there, dude. I hope to God one day I can get him on stream to talk. He said soon. He said maybe in the next couple of months that he'll hop on and talk about personal account trading. But yeah, man, on the ES too, not even the NASDAQ. Dude was trading 50 minis on the ES.
Yep.
And he wasn't always doing that either. Dude, like 6 months to a year ago, he was trading 1 to 3, maybe 5 minis was like heavy size. And he's built that account up to 50 minis. It's just inspiring, bro. Really is inspiring.
I actually sent him a personal message just before jumping on the stream, just saying exactly that. I'm like, you've always been a good trader since I've known you, but I want to personally congratulate. Like seeing that 50 minis, I'm like, it's very clear that you've made some very serious growth, and it's been consistent discipline. And it's amazing to see. Like you said, man, he doesn't post content. He's not out there flexing this one and that one.
He doesn't care at all. No.
he doesn't care at all. He's just in there and he's like, boom, he's up. Like, he just manages to, he's very clear with the analysis that he does. And you know what? Training's not even his full-time thing. I'm pretty sure he works a job still.
He still works a job. He was telling me he's getting ready to leave the job. He was telling me the only reason he still has it is actually due to like something to do with citizenship. So he could stay in, I don't even remember what country he's in. Maybe Nigeria. I know he has a wife, a partner that he wants to be over there for. But yeah, that's the only reason. Like, and he's like, he's so funny, bro. He's like, I think once I could get up to 100 minis, that's when I'll definitely quit the job. I'm like, bro, you made 100 grand in a day. But yeah, man, shout out Greg. He seriously is a beast. He'll come on one day. Last thing, guys who are in the chat, we just had Casey. I know you just said you were interested in using volume profile. And James just said, I have a channel that focuses a lot on volume profile. So I just linked my YouTube channel in the chat. Check that out. Of course, I appreciate a subscribe, a like, a comment, all that good stuff. But yeah, man, this was great, bro. I'm going to keep doing these streams at least once, maybe twice a week. If you want to hop on once a week or just whenever you want. No pressure, but I'm going to let you know every time before I go on if you want to hop on with me.
Fantastic, man. I'll be more than happy to do so. Sounds great. Yeah, we always seem to get value out of our chats, man. So I'm more than happy to make the time. It's good fun too.
100%, man. All right, bro. I guess we're gonna wrap it up there. We've been streaming for almost an hour. No trades, but we did call out a good long. If anyone took it, I hope you did. But all right, man. Yeah. Good talking, Aiden. We'll talk soon. I'm sure I'll see you in the Discord tomorrow.
Yes, you will. Have a good night, man. Catch up.
All right. Have a good night, brother. Later.